Hi, I'm Molly. I teach English. This is a channel for people learning English and people who love English and people who want to practice their English. Yada, 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 yada. I'm showing up today from inside because if I don't start showing up and doing these videos from inside, I'm not going to keep doing these videos. So in order to keep showing up, I need to show up like this. And I thought that would be a decent thing to talk about in this theme of showing up that has come up. I know most of you are at all of you are at the point in the English language learning journey where you're dealing with phrasal verbs. You're seeing them, you're learning them, you're getting frustrated by them, you're wondering how it's possible to learn them all, and it's not. Just to say it's not possible to learn them all. And there are ones from England that I don't know, and there are new ones that I hear all the time. And I could go on and on about phrasal verbs because I actually think that it's important that you understand them, but if you're going to use them in speech, it gets tricky because they're very specific and they don't always mean the exact same thing in different places. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is that they're very specific. They often don't, some of them don't have synonyms. And they can be used inappropriately. For example, if you say to somebody, you should just get over it, which means you should finish processing it, or you should no longer be feeling the pain of a loss, a breakup, a change in life. So just get over your ex, get over your anger at that, get over it. If you say that to somebody who's still mourning, who's still going through something, you can hurt their feelings, basically, right? To get over something is to be done grieving something, basically. So to say, when you're, talking about something, when you're talking to a 5-year-old and saying, okay, I think it's time you get over the fact that I took your toy away, right? I think it's time for you to be done having a temper tantrum because I took away your toy. That's very different than if you say to somebody, I think it's time for you to get over that person. I think it's time for you to get over it. And sometimes, a friend can be generous and say that in a generous, loving way, but it's a touchy subject. It's a fragile thing. So that's just one example. So if you were to use get over when you really meant to use get through, good luck getting through this challenging time, moving, traveling along the path of dealing with. Good luck getting through this challenging time. That's very different than saying, good luck getting over this thing, being finished grieving the thing, being finished. And that's just a different through and over. It's a very subtle difference, but it has a big difference in meaning. Get, you guys know, is a complicated one. And yeah. So, but the one we were talking about the other day is showing up, to show up. So I'm showing up today from inside, because if I don't show up from inside the house as opposed to outside the house, I'm not going to keep showing up. And why do I use show up and not drop in? Right? So I wanted to say a little bit more about this. There are a bunch of phrasal verbs that mean something very similar. And sometimes we use show up in that group of phrasal verbs. So the list is, this is not a complete list, but so when my neighbor sometimes just stops by, she stops by, she drops in, she comes around, she turns up, She stops in, she comes over. My other neighbor says, hey, come up to my house because she lives up the hill. Come down to my house if you live down the hill. So there's a lot of these. And somebody could say, right? So, and show up. And then when I do go to her house, I just show up at her house. I just stop in, I just drop in, I just stop by. And all those are synonyms. I just arrive unexpectedly without a prior commitment. When I do that, that's one thing. But to show up has this whole other meaning, which is not as tangible and is more subtle and is more energetic, you could say. So we use it a lot more, and it's being used more and more and more. So for example, if and it's a big one, so we'll do a few more videos on this topic, but I just wanted to share a little bit more about showing up. So you show up for something when you're expected to be there, or somebody expects you, or somebody wants you to come. So if you say, I was really sad because no one showed up at my event, not that many people showed up. You don't say, I was really sad because not that many people dropped in. You show up for that is very specifically the right phrasal word for that, phrasal verb for that specific situation. And it's also used, the way I was using it in the previous video is to talk about how we almost talk about ourselves as two people. We say, I didn't show up for myself when I didn't show up for meditation, for example. I show up for myself when I do the meditation I want to do, when I study the Spanish I want to study. I'm showing up for myself. And when I study Spanish, my teacher has to show up literally in the classroom for me to learn. And I show up in the classes for my students, and they show up when they attend the classes. But then there's this other more subtle energetic piece, which is, you could also say, what else is showing up? Are they bringing in their anger and frustration? Is that showing up? That can show up in the class too. Sometimes you need to check in with a group, how are you guys doing? Because you don't know what'll show up. You don't know what people are going through. And that's, that's okay, right? And that's energy showing up. And so that's another use of show up. And then, you can also say, how do your friends show up for you? Or how do you show up for your friends? Are you there for them? That's more of a synonym for that use of show up. Are you there for them? And are they there for you? To be there for somebody. So there's a ton of uses for this one phrasal verb. But the part of it that's really powerful, I think, and the reason that I love to use this word, and I will keep using this word, and I'll keep talking about this word, is because it does have this component of an expectation that you will arrive or you will be there. So if I say to myself, I'm going to make these videos, and I don't, I haven't shown up for myself in addition to not showing up for you, right? I said I would show up for you. I said I would do these videos once a week, and I didn't show up. But not only did I not show up for you, I didn't show up for myself. I didn't show up for my future self. I didn't show up for my inner child that is there, wanting to have a YouTube channel, like wanting to have putting on a show, right? There's part of me that, is giving her a platform, a voice, right? That's honestly it's kind of an embarrassing thing to say out loud, but the truth is it's true. We can also show up for our inner children, right? We can show up for our higher selves by meditating, by taking time in nature, by praying, whatever people use, gardening. We can show up for our more true selves, not just our egos, not just the self that does and has and needs to do right? We can show up today for our future selves. If I show up today, I'm showing up for me today, right now, and I'm showing up for my future self. I'm showing up for the possibility that something will come from this, the fact that I showed up. So there are some more thoughts on showing up. I'll leave it at that. Subscribe, like, and leave a comment below if you want to say something about showing up. If you want to use show up in a sentence, try that below. And don't worry, it's a safe space where you can show up as you are, how you are feeling today. And I think that is the only way we're going to be able to show up for each other. Because we bring whatever we bring, and that's okay. And that's the kind of community I want to create, is a place where we can show up as we are, and we can show up, as we are. And that's what I'm trying to do. And thanks for coming along for the ride. Thanks for showing up. Bye.